that sort of opened a whole. It opened the whole Pandora's box of, all the wrongs that are associated with our drug policies, and the real urgent need to have more harm reduction, compassionate, restorative policies rather than this, throwing dollar after dollar and wasting life after life to try to squelch drugs from our society. We instead need to understand why people are using them and work together as a community. Healthcare providers, mothers, instructors, the whole community needs to come together for a problem that belongs to all of us. And that's where I got my passion, of course. And probably, if my son had had muscular dystrophy or something like that, I would have learned as much about that as I possibly could and advocate for his best care. And that's exactly how I came into this movement. But I know for some it's just a pure human rights issue. They see our liberties being eroded by this war on drugs, and they see that it's just a whole bunch of fear tactics, and so we've allowed these rights to be taken away from us because of fear.
Yeah, and I do believe that it's crippling a good portion of this generation in the regards that when you look at the number that you just put out there, the 750,000 arrests per year for marijuana charges alone, you have to think. Yeah, you have to think of the ramification of those charges. Okay, 750,000 people got arrested on cannabis charges, but those 750,000 people, look at the quality of life now. They are unable to secure a scholarship for each other, and we're talking about young children at this point, the percentage that are kids. Unable to pursue any type of scholarship, certainly exempt from any type of high-level security clearance. So what we're looking at there is a good portion of our population that is not able to meet their full potential, which affects us all. We may have, a leading scientist in there who is going to get us to Mars and back, or discover, the cure for cancer, or, well, we have that. We have cannabis.
Right. It's really crippling our society, and it's really creating lives interrupted. And I mean, it's such a waste of human potential. I see kids getting, drug busts for marijuana 2 weeks before they're going to graduate from college, and then, that's just going to affect their job searches, their housing, their, certainly any further scholarships, as you say, or financial loans, and it goes on and on. So we're sort of saddling them with these roadblocks that make it almost impossible to thrive, in our society.
Sure, absolutely. And that is heartbreaking as a mother to watch your child's future, just spiral downward in that because of that, because of something so minor, or because of something that really should be addressed more compassionately and taken more of a sideways approach instead of coming from an authoritative position. We need to help. We need to help. So
we need to help, and we need to be compassionate. I as a mother, I tried just about everything. The tough love and whatever people told me to do, I was willing to do for the sake of my son. But I've really come around to understand that this, when people are caught up in addictive illness, that's not something they can just sort of walk away from, and it's not a disease of just bad people doing bad things. It's really very difficult to get out of that cycle, and so it's what we say, well, love the individual, hate the disease. But we're really talking about more than my sons. We're talking about people who use marijuana. That doesn't necessarily mean they've got addictive illness. I mean, it probably doesn't mean that at all. But their lives are being ruined nonetheless because of these very punitive marijuana laws. And, I'm not in favor of marijuana or drugs of any kind, but when you look at the whole scope of drugs, it's less dangerous than tobacco. It's less destructive to your body than tobacco. It's certainly less than alcohol and any number of drugs. And yet we've got the DEA rating people's medical marijuana patients' homes now. It just seems like we've really gone off kilter. I think we've all talked about why this reefer madness, and there's probably a lot of reasons, and a lot of them are political. But it's very, very sad that we're allowing this to happen. That's part of the reason moms have to speak out, and cops have to speak out, and professionals, as you are, have to speak out, and with one voice to say, no, we can't do this to our kids, our families, our societies anymore.
Yes, I agree. And I'm glad that you brought up moms and cops, because did I hear correctly that Moms United has formed an alliance with LEAP? So we have a Moms and Cops movement together?
Yes, we do, and it seems very powerful, especially for mothers whose kids have been in trouble. You start looking at cops as being those people that take your kids away and lock them up, right? So but LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, is an organization of cops, policemen, sheriffs, law enforcers who have said enough, that we must end drug prohibition. It's way, we're locking up the wrong people. So it's a very gutsy move on their part to move forward that way. And I think this Moms and Cops Alliance then saying, hey, yeah, we're both on the same page with this. And we're also trying to build more of an alliance with students who will speak out. So you really have the moms and kids together with the cops jointly making the same statement for the sake of our kids, Yeah, that's what we announced in Washington, D.C. last week, this partnership. But we have been starting, and we're doing some rallies this week leading up to, all in around Mother's Day, doing rallies across the nation to bring focus to the need to end the war on drugs and to, to announce these key partnerships. And we're also working with partnerships with clergy and wherever we can find. And we may not agree on all things, but we all agree that we need to end the war on drugs. Another thing.
Wonderful.
Another thing that we've done is we've declared a Moms United to End the War on Drugs Bill of Rights that we've got all these organizations endorsing. And it seems kind of funny. I mean, why would mothers need a Bill of Rights, But it seems that our intrinsic and inherent rights to nurture and protect our children have been eroded by the war on drugs. And it just seemed that it was time to declare these basic rights of all mothers,
Yeah, I agree. They've taken a personal and a family issue and turned it into a public and a criminal issue.
Right, exactly. We're criminalizing our kids, and people with the prescription drug use. This is when your first question about mothers who think this isn't going to happen. It's not just the kids that are dying of accidental overdose. It's individuals in their 50s and 60s because they're mixing some of the prescription drugs. So we have to have some real clear, honest conversations about drugs, about the interaction of drugs, about so rather than just saying no, say no to drugs. Well, drugs are so much a part of our society, and the way they interact is very important to know to protect all of us. So,
right.
So some reality-based education in our schools is important in terms of.
Yeah, I think it's critical. Because you label these drugs, say no to drugs, and all of this really negative propaganda circling around cannabis. And that is so ingrained into our brains that when someone comes to you and says that cannabis can help you with this ailment or cannabis can cure you of this ailment, we are so tuned out to that message because of the programming that we've gotten throughout the years that we may let some valuable information and some medicine that could help us tremendously, maybe even more so than the prescription medications that they had been taking. That just goes out the window because of the demonization of the plant.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a shame. It really is. And I agree with you. Education, education, education. It is all about informing one another of what we know and what we're aware of and how we've been affected by it, and how even if we think we haven't directly been affected by it, how we are.
Yes, yes, right. Sort of opening your eyes to the reality of the situation.
Well, and especially as mothers, we're all so busy and we're trying to handle our day-to-day responsibilities and then get that quality time in there. There's very little time for ourselves, let alone education, on topics that we might not even be aware of are affecting us.
Sure.